Welcome into the 42nd episode of the Save Saturdays podcast. Joining me on the pod, as always, the usual suspects, Big Bets Bents, Wilson Reason, who never seems to be sitting down when we start these shows, and Ethan Cherry. How are we doing, guys?
Fantastic, Ethan.
Yep, it's good to be here.
I was adjusting my TV so I could do the show, but yet still watch Tom Brady be terrible.
Everyone else tuning into the Thursday night game?
Oh, I got it on, of course. You know me and the Bucks. We go way back. I got Fournette, my fantasy team. He's looking good with a score already. I'm excited.
Evidenced by his Minnesota Vikings quarter zip here.
Oh, this thing?
Huge Buccaneers fan.
Huge.
You know, Ryan, I'm going up against Fournette in fantasy this week and a man named John Cherry, and so I don't like your attitude.
Hey, you can have your opinions, I can have mine.
All right, so let's get it kicked off with the question of the week brought to you by Will Reason this week. The question is, if you could build a perfect fantasy team out of anyone in NFL history, who is your squad? Who wants to take this one first? All right, not everyone all at once.
Not someone that's prepared.
I'll go. All right. Well, this was a fun one. Good job, Will. I like the idea of bringing back question of the week. You know, it gets us going. It gets this podcast going in the right direction. You know, it loosens us up for the big topics. I like it. Let's go. So I'll start. My ultimate fantasy lineup starts with quarterback Peyton Manning. All right. So obviously Hall of Famer quarterback. You know, great personality. I just love the guy. I like watching him on ESPN2, Monday Night Football. So fun. All right. So my next two running backs would be Marshawn Lynch and Derrick Henry. And then my two wide receivers, Jerry Rice, Randy Moss. Tight end, got to go with legendary Cowboys, Jason Witten. And then my flex, Barry Sanders. And then my defense, Cherry, you'll love this. It's the 85 Bears.
Yep, best one ever.
I'll go next. Quarterback, give me MVP Lamar Jackson. At running back, give me the near record breaking season of DeMarco Murray. Second running back, give me Adrian Peterson when he was 9 yards shy of the single season rushing record. Wide receiver, Randy Moss. Second wide receiver, give me Devontae Adams. Whenever he was with the Packers, not this year. Tight end, I want Gronk. Flex, give me the last 3 weeks of Josh Jacobs. And then kicker, Justin Tucker. Gotta go with the greatest kicker of all time.
Oh, I agree with that. I forgot my kicker. I want Justin Tucker.
All right, and then at defense, give me the 2010-2011 Green Bay Packers Super Bowl champion defense. You'll remember they forced a game-sealing pick six against the Chicago Bears in the NFC Championship game that year.
Real funny. Definitely not better than that 85 Bears defense. So I guess I'll go next. QB, I'm going Josh Allen. He's a guy that can run and throw it better than most guys ever. Running back, I'll go good old sweetness, Walter Payton. I'm going Barry Sanders. Wide receiver, I'll take Megatron, Calvin Johnson, and I'm going to go Larry Fitzgerald. As a child, he was my favorite. Tight end, I think you got to go Gronk. Flex, this is very stupid, but I'm going Devin Hester just because he's the swaggiest, coolest player probably of all time, and you get points for kick return TDs. Kicker, I'll take Hot Rod because he's pretty cool. D, 85 Bears.
Hot Rod, who is already out of the NFL after one season.
He got signed by the Cardinals. He's back.
Well, you got a team for us? You haven't answered your own question.
I'm making my own team. I forgot to ask this. So I'm going to go quarterback Drew Brees. Man was constantly throwing for 400 yards and 3 touchdowns. The man's electric. running back, the greatest fantasy running back of all time, Christian McCaffrey. Right behind him at running back, LaDainian Tomlinson. Wide receiver, Randy Moss. Second wide receiver, Terrell Owens. That was my tough one. I didn't know who my second receiver was going to be, but I'm liking Terrell Owens. Tight end, got to go Gronk. That's not even a question. If you don't put Gronk, you're kicked off the show. Flex, I got to go Tyreek Hill. I mean, you can just eat the ball up down the field, and he's going to catch it. He's a fantasy nightmare. Defense, I don't know. I wasn't listening to your defenses. I put in the 2002 Ravens. Did Petrick say that?
I said 2010,
Ryan,
2011 Green Bay Packers.
Oh, well, that's a terrible answer.
Thank you.
Well, good. I'm glad I went someone that was a taken. And I'm kicker, of course. I mean, yeah, it's Justin Tucker. I wanted to go like Alex Henry, but I'm trying to win. So yeah.
Nice.
So of our
Real
four,
quick,
who's winning here? Who's winning?
Definitely not Ryan, because Ryan picked Witten, not Gronk.
Hey, he's a sleeper pick. He's a sleeper tight end.
Ryan, he's the guy in free
This is
agency that
John.
didn't get drafted that you pick up because you got a hurt player.
You got to have the 85 Bears if you're going to win.
That's right.
Right, Ryan? Yeah.
Yep. Me and Cherry in the championship in that
Yep.
in those matchups.
Here's my problem with the 85 Bears. I don't even think they track sacks yet at that point. So the 85 Bears aren't getting any points for sacks. So mega problem right there. A sack's a point.
Well, not to mention
right
that time.
Did good old Richard Dent make the quarterback get bent? That's how the Super Bowl shuffle went.
Well, I mean, back then you weren't throwing the ball as much, so your interceptions are already cut in half from nowadays. I mean, this is just a terrible pick from the guys.
That's what I'm saying. You got to go after your all-time scoring defense, not an all-time defense.
Oh, I didn't know we had rules here.
85 Bears.
That's not a
were good
rule.
at
It's just a
everything.
suggestion.
Oh,
Kind of like you
appreciate
shouldn't trade Michael Evans for Jamal Williams once DeAndre Swift is back, but you still went and did it anyway.
That's true.
We'll get to the fantasy update in a little bit. Will actually touched on something during his all-time team that I wanted to give Cherry credit for, but we'll get to that later in the show. First up, we have, would Clemson be undefeated outside of the ACC? There was some discourse between Joel Klatt and Danny Cannell on Twitter going back and forth. Would Clemson be undefeated with Ohio State or Michigan's schedule? Joel Klatt said that he doesn't even think that Clemson would be a top 3 team in the Big Ten East or either SEC division. So take it away.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely.
Ryan, you wanna go ahead?
Not taken away, or
Not well. I can say a little something. No, but I mean, Clemson's had they've shown they've had tough games in their ACC conference. They've scooted past Wake Forest, which was it's a tough one. But I don't know. I mean, thinking of the SEC and the Big Ten East, I guess, powerhouse conferences. They got great teams. They have great strength of schedules, tough strength of schedules. And I just don't think Clemson has a team that can compete with those better teams in the conferences.
Gonna have to disagree with Big Bet Spence right here. I'm gonna say yes. I think they beat Michigan, not Ohio State. I think they beat Michigan. Michigan hasn't been super. They've been good, but I mean, Iowa kept a close game with Iowa. I think Clemson has a more impressive win right now, beating Wake Forest, who's a very good team, I think. And they kind of proved in that game. Sure, their offense is, when it's off, it's not good, but it's good enough that it can win them games with that defense.
I'm going to have to agree with Cherry. So I actually wrote an article about this, and I dug into it. And I think answering Cannell's question, would Clemson be undefeated with Ohio State and Michigan's record? Absolutely. Clemson's actually had a more difficult record. They've had the 56th rated strength of schedule so far this season, both Ohio State and Michigan in the 80s. Their strength of record is higher. It's second in the country, second to only Tennessee. So I think Clemson is absolutely still undefeated going up against either the Buckeyes or the Wolverines schedule. And I also think, Clemson, no one in the Big Ten East is recruiting at the level, except with the exception of Ohio State, at the level of Clemson. So swap out Clemson for an Indiana in the Big Ten East. Yeah, they're going to struggle with Ohio State, but everyone in the country is struggling with Ohio State. They're a good team. Struggling doesn't mean they're losing consistently. It just means that it's going to be a tough win if they're going to go into that game. So I don't get why we need to pretend like Clemson isn't a good team just because they had a close win over Syracuse. I mean, Ohio State won the national championship in 2014, losing by 14 to Virginia Tech. So I don't think we need to take too much away from a narrow win over a top 25 team.
Mm-hmm. I agree, Patrick. Will?
Yeah, I like everything that was said here. I'm gonna kind of like half agree with you guys. I don't think they'd be undefeated necessarily. I do think they drop maybe 1 or 2 games. I think the Big Ten as a whole, who's being a better conference than the ACC. I mean, they beat an NC State team with their backup quarterback, nearly escaped a Syracuse team. And since, when has Syracuse been a football school? I don't know. Certainly good football teams there in the ACC. Florida State kind of falling off. Clemson's definitely a top 10, top 15 team, but I do think they're definitely going to lose to Ohio State. The Michigan-Clemson game, those are two very similar teams, both go through their defense. Depending on where that game's at, I think either one of those teams could win that game. But I definitely think Clemson on the road in a very hostile Big Ten environment would probably drop a game, say at a Penn State, possibly in Iowa, even though that offense is terrible. It's just the nature of the Big Ten having so much depth compared to other conferences. But they definitely are a great team. That defense is elite. So yeah, absolutely. They'd definitely still be playoff contenders for sure.
Well, I hate that you're fence sitting, Will, but I appreciate you coming in with a little bit more than just no. So
hey, I can't take the hot take every single time.
Well, I'm just making fun of Ryan for just saying no and then not backing it up.
That's how
We'll go ahead and move on to college football playoff predictions. The first college football playoff top 25 from the committee will come out after this week, I believe. And so let's play committee 1 week early. Each of us gives our top 4 and then the first 2 out. Anyone feeling spicy about theirs? I got a pretty solid pick for you guys if you want me to take it away first.
Take it away.
Go ahead, Patrick.
All right, number 1, got to go Tennessee right now. No one has as good a quality win, and to go along with their undefeated record as Tennessee right now, gotta give the Volunteers credit for what they did against Alabama. So give me the Vols at 1. At 2, Ohio State. I think that win over Notre Dame was impressive, even though Notre Dame's had a rough go of it. I think Ohio State's shown that they're a pretty solid team this year. Number 3, TCU. Undefeated. I don't think that there's a team that's proven more this season than the Horned Frogs, so give me TCU. And then at number 4, Clemson. Team we were just talking about. I like the Tigers. I think they should be in the playoff right now. So we got 2 orange and white teams going up against a red and silver team, and our 2 orange teams going up against each other, and a red and silver team that's going up against a purple team that constantly tries to put red in their uniform, which is just disgusting. That's my top 4. First 2 out, Georgia and Michigan. You'll note no Alabama. Screw the Crimson Tide. I don't care that they lost to the number 1 team in the country. The loss has got to mean something. So those are my top 6 right now.
I'll go ahead, I guess. So I would say number 1, I'll go Georgia. I think, honestly, that was a great win for Tennessee. But until they beat Georgia, I mean, that's going to determine their playoff berth. And whoever wins that will play against Alabama probably in the Big Ten or the SEC title game. But I'll go Georgia at number 1 for now. Until they lose, I'm going to keep them at number 1. Number 2, I'll go Ohio State. I think Michigan's close with them. But honestly, I think Ohio State's really going to play good against them in Columbus this year. After losing last year, they're going to want some revenge. So I'm going Ohio State 2. Number 3, I'm going Clemson. They honestly have the easiest path to college football playoff out of anyone right now. Georgia still has to play Tennessee, and Ohio State and Michigan still have to play each other. But, I mean, Clemson, they don't really have that tough of a schedule going forward. So I think they're almost a lock to get in. Then I'm going to throw TCU in at number 4. They've already beat a lot of the good teams in the Big 12. They got to go through Texas, but Texas is wishy-washy. Like, if they show up, Texas can beat them. But if we get a bad Texas week, then TCU is going to kill them. And then first 2 out, I'm going to go Alabama. I think the only way Bama gets in right now is if they win out and then beat Georgia in the SEC championship, which I don't see happening, but I'll put them at 5. And then Oregon. I think Oregon has a good chance to win out. They've been getting better every single week. But that first week loss against Georgia is going to look really bad because if you put Oregon in, they're just going to play Georgia again, who we already know Georgia is the better team. So those are my 6.
So Michigan outside your top 6 then?
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that, but well, let's hear from the other 2 before we take away from our picks.
All right, I'll go. So I don't want to go last this time. So first off, before I get to my pick, I want to say to the man, Big Sky above me in the square, after just the countless. I've known him for 3 or 4 years now, so that's 3 or 4 years of multiple sports championships, next year ratings, Bleacher Report. I've heard countless arguments from this kid about how the past champion, if they're not number 1, then you're just a fool. And so the fact that you have Georgia not only not number 1, but at number 3, winning a national championship and then still undefeated, Ethan, it kind of surprised me.
I had Georgia at 5.
Oh my God, it was even worse than I was.
And
heard.
My take about Bleacher Report is that they do it the day after the championship. Okay, we've seen 6 games of Georgia, and they haven't done much other than beat Oregon, who Cherry thinks is apparently undefeated. Not
No, I know
there's of a 49-3 drubbing in Atlanta. But yeah, I think Georgia needs to. Right now, I just need to see a little bit more out of Georgia, so I don't want to hear it about me having the defending champions outside the playoff.
All right, I just wanted to give you. I just had to bring that up because it was such a heated topic. All right, so number 1. With that being said, I got to go Georgia here. I can't take the argument that they haven't played well in games. They haven't played any great teams, but with each and every win and every impressive win Oregon has, that Oregon win looks even better and better, especially with the way they dominate them. So I think that's definitely a good win on their resume. After that, they haven't played to the Georgia standard. We know had the tough one against Missouri, but every team in the top 10 has struggled with someone not good. Georgia, Missouri is not the only. They're not the only team that has struggled. Bama has struggled. Michigan, Tennessee, Ohio State. Each one of those teams have had an off week. So I simply think that was just an off week. So Georgia won. I got to go to Clemson, like we were just talking about. They're undefeated. They're playing. They're figuring out ways to win, and they're playing some decent football against decent football teams, and you got to reward that. I don't care what anyone else says. Number 3, got to go Ohio State. Again, haven't played too tough of a schedule. But just when you see them on the field, they're putting teams away, and we're not going to really see how good they are until we see Michigan. But based on the field right now, they're definitely a dominant force. 4, got to go Tennessee. Bama's their only real tough team they've played so far. So far they have not had an
LSU
outside of Bama. They haven't had much of a schedule either. They're kind of in the same boat with Ohio State and Michigan outside of that Bama win. But the Bama win, impressive nonetheless. So got to go Tennessee in the playoff right now. 5, definitely going Michigan. And then 6, to round it out. Couldn't do TCU. I don't think they're anywhere near this grouping of teams we're at. I'm going to go Alabama. I don't think they're as good as year before, which is why I don't think that Tennessee win's going to – by the end of the year, I don't think that Tennessee win over Bama is going to mean as much because I could very easily see Bama dropping another one before they may meet again or before they play Georgia. So there we go.
Will, I got a question for you real quick. TCU, if they win out and win the Big 12, I mean, I think you have to let them in. And they play 0 more ranked teams throughout the rest of their schedule. They got West Virginia. I think that's a pretty easy win. Texas Tech, I'd say that's a win. Texas, which is their hardest game, I would say, left. Which, like I said, Texas depends on which week you get them. They're really good some weeks. They're really bad some weeks. Baylor, who's looked okay, but I think TCU's proved they're better at this point. And then Iowa State. That puts them at 12-0 in the Big 10 or Big 12 championship against, I don't know how Big 12 works. Is it the next best record or is it divisions in Big 12? Does anyone know?
It's the next best record. No divisions in Big 12.
For one, I don't think they go undefeated. Looking at this schedule, this is a pretty horrid defense I see for the Horned Frogs. Struggled against an average SMU team. They played a horrible Colorado team, Tarleton State. Those are 2 terrible football teams. Oklahoma State, we have learned is not that great of a football team, put up 40 on them. Kansas, with their backup quarterback on game day, put up 31. Kansas State gave them trouble with a backup quarterback and eventually a third string. So I don't think this is good at TCU football. They're good, but they're definitely not in the college football discussion. They've kind of gotten some lucky breaks throughout their schedule with who was supposed to be their toughest opponents. And you look at the rest of this schedule, West Virginia, they're not great, but they put up points. And they're at home. I can easily see that West Virginia game being a trap game. And then you go to Texas Tech, Texas, Baylor. Those are some great offenses that, they're week in and week out, they're inconsistent. But if you catch one of those teams on a hot week with Quinn Ewers or Texas Tech, who can always drop 70 points on anyone, and then you got a great defense in Iowa State to finish that out. Those are 5 games. I can very, very easily see a loss or 2 on there. And even if they do win out, say they do win out, it's going to depend on the rest of the field. If you're looking at Clemson, Tennessee, Bama, Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, if any of those teams win out, if any of those 4 of those teams could win out, there's no way you put TCU in over one of those guys.
Yeah, but all those teams can't win out because Georgia and Tennessee play each other and Michigan, Ohio State play each other.
But say you get Clemson, say we get – well, first of all, SEC is going to put in 2. They always do that. It doesn't matter who's in the championship. They'll put 2 SEC in. Say it's Bama, Georgia.
It's going to be 1 West, 1 East.
Yeah, they'll put those 2 in. And then if Clemson wins out, that's 3. And then you got Ohio State, Michigan. Whoever wins that battle, that's your top 4.
Yeah, I guess. But in years past, I think they've struggled. They've put 2 SEC teams in because Big 12 champion or Pac-12 champion each have losses. In this case, TCU might be 13-0 with the Big 12 championship.
And I also would say, too, in my argument against the Big 12 is let's look at the last time the Big 12 has been in the playoff, and that's just been Oklahoma. And they've had some talented guys, Jalen Hurts.
Oh, we lost Will because he was making a bad argument. That's so tough. All right, so we'll go ahead and let Ryan get his final 6 in so we can go ahead and scoot into the next segment here.
All right, well, I'll make it fast. Number 1, I got to go Ohio State. They've been dominant, like what Will said, on the field. Number 2, I'll go Tennessee. Great win against Alabama. And then number 3, excuse me, I'll go Georgia. And then 4, I'll go Michigan. And then the first 2 out, I got to go Alabama. And I'll say
Texas?
Clemson.
I was waiting for him to say Texas at 3.
Not a 3-loss team.
I don't know, that loss to Alabama. It's a good loss, right?
It's a good loss.
Yeah, that's the other.
Texas Tech in overtime, double overtime, and then Oklahoma State last weekend by a touchdown.
Hey, Oklahoma State's top 10 team.
They are.
The Horns got 3 quality losses. Is what I'm hearing.
They do. And I mean, Sark's all in them Sark has all the confidence in the world for this team to still make the Big 12 championship. I mean, they've only had 2 conference losses, and I don't know. You can only go up from where we are.
Well, I think for the most part, Cherry and I had easily the best ones because TCU made it.
Thank you.
Justice for the Horned Frogs after the inaugural playoff where they were number 3 in the final one, didn't play a game and then somehow fell to 6. Didn't get in. Will, definitely the worst one on the board. I can't even remember how bad it was. Immediately went out my mind because I was like, this is just absolute garbage. So we'll go ahead and move on. Over the week or on Monday in Birmingham, Alabama, former Alabama Crimson Tide quarterback Greg McElroy went on his radio show with quite the rant. I'll go ahead and play it for you guys, and then we'll react.
I'm fine with you doing that if you're on Tennessee Martin, Tennessee. I'm not fine with you doing that in a close game when it's 17-14. I'm freaking out because my team might lose their third straight. This got to be sideways.
I didn't think
It's got to be sideways. Like, you can't start eating food in a game.
He couldn't block in the back.
It's pretty much done. It was over.
Okay, so it's sideways for the O-line. All right, fine. All right. So Cole checks out when the O-line starts playing poorly. I'm sitting here on the edge of my seat as a South Carolina fan, absolutely freaking out, trying to win the Governor's Cup or whatever the hell it's called, trying to win that for the first time. I am freaking out. Like, oh my gosh, our team's gonna do it. Beamer, but we gotta hang on, boys. Hang on, we can do it. And then I fast forward and I'm having to see a Bachelor contestant eating a 2.5-foot freaking corn dog. I'm sitting there watching Kubelik literally scarf down the most disgusting looking piece of food I've ever seen in my life.
Get it going.
The only thing that's more disgusting than that was when he ate a bloomin' onion on the dang sideline. But that's at least appropriate because it was a sponsored element. You're doing it for the sponsor.
The sponsor
Outback
actually asked me
paid
to
for
do
it.
They
paid for it.
So that was McElroy's rant. It goes on for about another minute where he just talks about how unacceptable it was that his radio show co-host was eating during the South Carolina Texas A&M game, which the Gamecocks managed their first win over Texas A&M in program history. What do you guys think? Should broadcasters eat during a show or not?
Okay, I got a quick question for you. So, like, what they were like on basically the SEC like game day crew, what, or were they actually broadcasting the game?
Was during the game. It was like 6. There was like 6 minutes left in the third quarter. It was 17-14. South Carolina was winning, and they just started. There was like South Carolina fair food at the game, and they just started eating food.
Are they like talking on?
They
the
were calling the game. So it was the play-by-play, the color analyst, and the sideline reporter. And the color analyst was Jordan Rodgers, Aaron Rodgers' little brother.
Yuck.
So there's your context.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's not a huge deal, but yeah, probably shouldn't be eating.
I think it's probably bad etiquette. I don't think you want your listeners to hear you chomp on your food while you're trying to, you know, call out what's going on the field.
Will, you got a hot take here?
First of all, the fact that we're talking about Texas A&M and South Carolina the country is not us personally, but just the fact that like that game is important. Like those teams suck. The bottom of the SEC right there. So I don't blame them for eating because it's a pretty horrid football game they were forced to watch from the crew. So I mean, I would also probably be trying to sneak a few bites in if I was forced to call that game. But you probably shouldn't. That's probably a good rule of thumb. You probably shouldn't eat.
Eat the food during a commercial break.
Or just before or after the game or halftime, Like, I just think there's probably other times you could be doing that.
Well, I think it's a little hypocritical because two of you are drinking right now and have done so on the broadcast. And so I think broadcasters should be allowed to eat.
Okay, there's a difference between drinking and eating.
Way different. Hold on.
No. Consumption.
This is a sponsored element. We're getting
Coors Banquet is not paying for you to drink a tall boy on the broadcast, and nor is
LaCroix.
Hey, I said it was a free sponsorship.
As in, we buy their beer.
Yeah, we're paying them.
Well, you guys should probably reevaluate that deal. I thought it was funny. I think broadcasters should be allowed to eat. The funny thing is in one of the press boxes this weekend in Iowa for a high school game, one of the broadcasters choked on a peanut mid broadcast.
Oh boy.
He's all right. He was able to finish out the game, but I just can't imagine driving down the road hearing some dude choking on a peanut. That's the radio you got for the day. We'll go ahead and move on and do an update on the Save Saturdays Football League. You guys saw us draft it on the first episode that we came back. And here is how it has gone after 7 weeks of action. You'll see Will popping Chubbs dead last in the what is that? The South Division, East Division.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm chilling right below Ryan at number 3 in the East Division. Ryan's number 2 in the East Division. And then Cal's Lads is lucky to be playing in the weaker West because they're number 2 despite a losing record and only a 42% chance at making the playoffs. How, from your guys' perspective, how has the season gone for you?
You know, I've had my ups and downs. I started the season undefeated at maybe it was 3-0. Maybe it was even, well, let me see here. I'm on a 2-game losing streak. So I started the season 3-0, and then actually forget it. But
wow, math is brutal for Ryan.
I can't multitask. No, but playoff chances are high for me. I like it. But I just picked up starting Colts quarterback, Sam Ehlinger. I got him starting in my lineup right now. He's going to have his breakout game, right off the bat. And then I got Dalvin Cook, Raheem Mostert. He's questionable right now, but he's had a couple good games so far. Stephon Diggs, obviously, wide receiver 1. And then Cowboys defense has been looked phenomenal this season. Super Bowl caliber defense, if I might add. And then I got Justin Tucker kicking tonight right now. So that's my starting lineup. I feel pretty good about it. And I feel like I got a championship team, to say the least.
Jerry, how's Cal's Lads done this year?
I've forgot to set my lineup a couple times in this league, and I think that's hurt me. But I think I'm like 3rd in points for. So I'm scoring points. I think I've just been getting kind of unlucky. But I have Lamar at quarterback, which the first couple weeks he was awesome, and then the past couple weeks he's trailed off a little bit. But McCaffrey and Barkley is my 1-2 running back tandem. I think that's a pretty good start for running backs. And then Olave and T. Higgins and Amon-Ra St. Brown at receivers. So it's Kyle Pitts at tight end. I guess he's been pretty bad, but I have Hawkinson as the backup, so I'll probably start playing Hawkinson a bit more. I like my team. I think I've just been a little bit unlucky.
Well, you're fortunate actually because you're playing in the West Division, which stinks. Will would love to be in the West Division right now, as he's only got a 6% chance of making the playoffs. So, Will, what's gone wrong with popping Chubbs?
Well, for one, you got to just be honest at the end of the day. In the past 5 years of fantasy football history, this is one of my weaker teams I've put out there. I think I'm 3-4 right now. I'll go through the starting quarterback. Usually would be Herbert, who we all know has just not had a Herbert-like year. Antonio Gibson, Damian Harris. I should have drafted Ramondre Stevenson if I wanted a Patriots running back. He has not gotten a lot of carries. Justin Jefferson, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, Patriots D. My kicker usually is Harrison Butker, and then I have J.K. Dobbins and James Robinson, 2 guys who it's just not been their year. Dobbins got hurt, Robinson got traded, and then I drafted Hunter Renfrow early as one of my flex receivers. He had a big year last year. I thought he'd get a lot of reception. He just simply hasn't been able to stay on the field. He's been hurt 3 weeks, and then when he is on the field, he's looking at 5 targets a game, which just isn't great. So I did like my team at the start. There's just a few guys that did not perform like I thought they would. I had high hopes for them, and a few of my losses this year have been to some of the better teams in this league. Cal's lads and everyone in this chat here has beat
third
me.
most points. I've been scoring.
So everyone here has beat me. So I have not had the opportunity to play at the bottom of the league yet. So I think once that happens, I will be able to kind of get up in the rankings a little bit. So we'll see.
Well, the Fighting Big Sams, we've had a good season. We had a little bit of an issue where needed some running back help, and then Rashad Penny got injured. So drafting Kenny Walker worked out just fine for us, and that we were able to add him in there. Tight end wise, we also struggled at the beginning of the season. I can't even remember who I drafted. I think it was Darren Waller. He's been pretty bad. So got Hayden Hurst in there now. And I think we're on a 3-game win streak. So of all the people here, I've had the most success of late. And before we wrap up this segment, I want us to grade this trade.
Oh, God.
It was the first one in the league this year. My brothers, Ayahuasca and such, trades Jamal Williams to Big Bets Bents for Mike Evans. What do we think of this one, guys?
All right, I think it's a great trade.
Yeah, Ryan, defend yourself.
We lost Ryan because he made a bad trade. Okay.
I guess I'll. Oh, sorry, Jerry.
I'm just gonna give Ryan it's usually an A to F, but I'm giving Ryan a 0 because we need more discrepancy. Ryan gets a 0. Your brother gets 100.
Well,
all right, you know what? So I will defend Ryan a little bit here. As a guy in a different league who had Jamal Williams, I don't think Jamal Williams is going to last all season. In the first 5 weeks, he was a very touchdown dependent, getting a lot of carries, sure, but I had better running back, so I traded him away and got a receiver back. And I think Ryan saw that early production and he needed a running back. I think his team probably needed a running back, so he saw a touchdown guy like Jamal Williams getting a lot of volume, and I can definitely see where he thought Jamal Williams would have been a good addition. Now, giving up Mike Evans for that addition might have been a lot, but as Ryan has said before, and I quote, the TB offense has been cheeks, and he's absolutely right. Mike Evans cannot catch a football right now, so in a year's past, I would say bad trade. But the way things are playing out this season so far, if you showed someone this 3 years ago, they'd say, Ryan, you should never be allowed to play fantasy football again. But this year, I'm gonna give it a C-. I think
I'll take it.
Terrible.
But yeah, I mean, it's just so after looking at my roster now, I might have thought about that. I might have made a decision too quick because I do have DeAndre Swift on my roster.
So it's officially a negative 50 grade for me. I'm going lower than Cherry. I like the decision to add discrepancy. Letter grades are actually just ways of symbolizing numbers. And so you got a negative 50% on this assignment, right?
Sounds about right.
Can I change mine to a D-?
Yes, you can. The best part is my brother pulled the same move in the other league that I'm in with him. He traded Jamal Williams to the guy who had DeAndre Swift.
Oh,
that guy was doing it for a handcuff. And my brother definitely lost the trade because he traded for Curtis Samuel. Ryan was just a little bit more of a I guess wounded duck.
I mean, first of all, your brother's not doing too hot. He's 2-5. I'm 4-3. I'm comfortable with my
Doesn't matter what the records are. It doesn't matter what the records are. You made a bad trade. Don't try and push this off.
I'm just being a nice
player
guy.
in the league. You got fleeced by the worst player in the league.
I'm helping others out. I'm helping.
He's a philanthropist. That's
right.
Ooh, Tom Brady almost threw a pick.
I think we need to get Skylar on here so we can just rub it in Ryan's face.
We should bring Skylar on, and then I should just collect all of his trades that he's made in every league this year, and we can just go through them together and we can go through his draft strategy as well. That fantasy rehab. Scott can be on a segment of fantasy rehab.
We got a reality.
All right.
TV,
That's going to do it for the Fantasy League update. And then we'll get into all of our name segments to round out the show, starting off with Saturday's Heroes. I know Will's put some thought into his, so I want him to go ahead and take this one.
Well, this one is for Cherry. I'm going to the NHL. The man from the Czech Republic, 6'2", 190 pounds, former Chicago Blackhawks 7th-round pick by the LA Kings.
Dominic Kubalik,
who's absolutely killing it as a member of the Detroit Red Wings in his first year there. Boys absolutely having a great season, like the Red Wings, 4 goals, 6 assists. The man's having himself a season. He was in our free agency and fantasy, so I had to pick him up just to see if I can keep the magic going because I'm 0-2, and I need to see if I can do it. So I'm putting all my faith in Mr. Kubalik.
All right. For me, I thought about taking someone from the Bears this week, but that whole team deserved it. But I like going college football for Saturday's Hero. So I'm going college football. And what I also like to do is kind of give some love to people or to a player that a lot of people hate on. Early in the season, I said Sean Clifford. That one doesn't look too good right now. I'm going Bo Nix. This guy has bounced back so well since that bad game against Georgia. But who doesn't play bad against that Georgia defense? Since that game, he scored at least three TDs in every single game since. This weekend against UCLA, who's got a good defense, number 9 team in the country, 22 for 28, 283 passing yards, 5 touchdowns, 8 rushing attempts for 51 yards. He gets a lot of hate, especially from those SEC people who killed him for a couple of years at Auburn, but he's been playing lights out for Oregon, and I think he gets a lot of unwarranted hate. So I'll give a little love to Bo Nix.
I'm going to go in a similar strategy there. I like to give love to some players that people hate. And my Saturday's Hero, guy really made my Saturday a lot better, is going to be Ben Simmons because he is just so hilariously bad that he's my Saturday's Hero. 14 fouls this season, only 17 points. Just airballed a layup an hour ago in their game against the Dallas Mavericks. Give me Ben Simmons. Potentially, we'll get to it later, one of the worst contracts in the NBA. And I believe I saw a little bit ago that he was traded for James Harden last year. James Harden has already over 100 points this season and 39 assists. And Ben Simmons has 21 assists and 17 points. So Nets definitely got the short end of that stick. And we'll round it out with Ryan Bentz's Saturday's Hero.
I got 2. Is that all right? One's serious. One's kind of like there. But
Always trying to bend the rules.
Against the rules.
So my save Saturday's Hero would have to be the Texas running back legend Deontay Foreman with the Carolina Panthers. He had his first big time showing last week against Tampa Bay. Rushed for over 100 yards, 20 yards on 2 receptions. No touchdowns, but he had a great game. I mean, he's looking to be the starting running back for the struggling Carolina Panthers. So I got to throw up the horns real quick. I love to see it. Also, I have his Texas jersey. I'm not wearing it tonight. I probably should be, but it's all right. And then my other one would have to be Colts head coach Frank Reich for deciding to start or I guess it's second year rookie. Second year quarterback Sam Ehlinger out of Texas again. That guy and my guy's hero. Let's go. Good job, Frank.
All right. The second one was good. I like that one, Ryan. Hopefully next week we can share Sam Ehlinger as our Saturday hero after he leads the Colts to a 100-point victory.
I would love it.
All right, and then everyone's least favorite segment of the week. It's Quantum Cherries. Woo.
Yeah.
All right. We got some hockey talk this week. I know Will Reeson, not the biggest hockey guy, was talking. He wanted to get going with the hockey talk because his Bruins are 6-1 to start the year, and currently beating Detroit Red Wings 5-1. I mean, they've looked good. I think Pass is a star. I don't know how good they're going to be long term. I like Buffalo in the Atlantic Division, actually. Will, what do you got to say about your Bruins?
Hold up. What are we saying? I'm not a big hockey guy. I've watched some hockey this year. I'm playing hockey fantasy. I'm following it.
Okay.
Let's slow down here. But you know, let's talk the Boston Bruins. You know, also known as the best team in the NHL right now. Without three of their better players, brand new head coach, and they're absolutely just dusting the rest of this league. Clearly, it's an old team, injury issues in the past. If this squad can stay healthy, there's no one in the league that has better chemistry outside of maybe Tampa, and they're struggling to start off. So I'm liking the Bruins. If they can stay healthy for sure, I'm going to go to drive to Iowa, and I'm betting on them to win the cup. Even if they're not healthy, they're still winning out. And I disagree with the Sabres. You just want Dolan in fantasy. So Sabres suck.
I think you're getting a little ahead of yourself with the cup aspirations. Well, I let Will give some love to Bruins. Well, I gotta give a little bit of love to the Hawks, who are 4-2, currently beating the Edmonton Oilers 2-1 right now. About to take charge of the Central Division if they win tonight. And all my love goes to Luke Richardson, the first-year head coach. This team looks so much more competent, especially on the defensive side of the puck. Now, without Jeremy Colleton or Derek King, it's early, and this team has no talent at all, but they work hard, and these guys are buying in, and they're having fun. So, actually, the Oilers just scored, so it's 2-2. Should probably stop talking about the Hawks.
Fire Luke Richardson. Fire Luke Richardson.
Basically. Second of all, I'd like to talk a little bit about the potential first overall pick in this next year's draft. Maybe the Hawks won't be there as I thought they would, but I think Adam Fantilli, is making some noise to possibly at least make people think about taking him at first overall over Connor Bedard. Fantilli's got 15 points in 6 games in Michigan. Leading scorer in college hockey, is the youngest player in college hockey. I think I read he's the first top scorer through 6 games at Michigan since 1978. And he's a freshman who's 18 years old. Bedard still 10 goals, 22 points in his first 13 games. But I think Fantilli's game can translate a little bit better to the NHL. He's got the bigger body, cares more about the defensive end. But I'd still rank Bedard ahead of him right now, but I think eventually Fantilli could, like I said, at least make it a conversation there. And then last of all, I just want to talk about how Aaron Rodgers is probably the worst QB in human history and has proven it this season, and he should probably be in jail. And the Hawks just scored, actually, so it's 3-2. We're all over the place. McDavid was in the box. He's probably terrible. Garbage at hockey like Rodgers is garbage at football.
All right. I don't think you'll ever see a college hockey player drafted over a transcendent talent like Connor Bedard. But, yeah, I mean, I was like, oh, I don't know much about this Adam Fantilli guy. I looked up his elite prospects profile and saw that he played in college. And I was like, oh, definitely not. Definitely.
I mean, Eichel and McDavid, that was a close conversation, their draft year.
That was not a close conversation. The only conversation was, man, if Connor McDavid didn't exist, Jack Eichel would be number 1.
Well, it's the same thing with Fantilli. Fantilli's probably the best prospect other than Bedard to come out since, I don't know, Matthews probably in the last 7 years.
Oh, you forget that Quentin Byfield exists?
Oh, I mean, he hasn't done anything in the NHL yet. He had a couple. I mean, Gabe Velarde's your top scorer, bud.
Yeah, that's because he's insane.
Yeah,
absolutely sick.
I think when we had our hockey show, we talked a little bit about Gabe Velarde then, and I think I recall you not being a huge fan, and I vouched for him.
Well, he couldn't skate, and he had a bad back at the time, so I don't want to hear it.
His back has always been bad, but when he's healthy, I think he's a solid player. He's a good net front guy. He'll be able to get a lot of points out in front there.
No Quentin Byfield though.
Eh.
While we're on the topic of hockey, I played some more goalie this weekend. Over under 3.5 goals allowed by Mr. Petrick this week.
Going under, yeah.
You're correct. I
allowed
only let in 3 this last week. I'm not sure which game I'm goalie in this week, but I'll go ahead and set the line on the show here. Let's go. Only going to go goalie one game. I'm going to go line 4.5. I'm guessing I'll be goalieing the intermediate level. There's rec, intermediate, and competitive. I goalied rec this week. Intermediate probably this week. So what are we taking? Over 4.5 for Will. Cherry's going under.
That's tough. I'm thinking 4 or 5. That's a good line. I'll go under. I believe in you.
If the last
There
time I
you go,
played
Ryan.
intermediate, the under of that would have hit, but I've definitely had a couple of nights where the over hit. So I appreciate the faith from my 2 compadres to the left and to the or to the right, I guess, on the screen. To the right and below me. Will, you can go F yourselves.
Okay. No faith.
And we'll round out the show with the best segment of the week. About 10,000 times better than Quantum Cherries. Big bets, Spence's bets of the week.
Thank
It
you
was
very
another
much.
rough week for the man himself, going 4-8 2 weeks ago with his bets, and he's up to a 302 correct percentage.
Let's go.
You just called that the best show over Quantum Cherries with a 302 win percentage?
Hey,
Hey.
It's going to turn around.
It's called comedy, Cherry.
Gotta love it. You know, I'm a big man of comedy myself. I love good comedy. That's why I do the show every week. No. Let's get into it. So, all right. So, of course, going to start off with the National Association of Stock Car Auto Racing, NASCAR. I'll do a little quick recap for you. First race in the round of 8, Joey Logano, win at Las Vegas. I'm not surprised. I had him winning. He historically does really well at the track. Again, he locks himself into the championship 4. And then I'll jump into this week, Sunday at 1:00. We're going to Martinsville, the Paperclip racetrack. It's a half-mile track. So I'll jump right in and say, I think Ross Chastain, the Watermelon Man, is going to have a great race. He needs it. He's still alive in the round of 8. He's had back-to-back runner-ups. So he's hungry. He's hungry for that watermelon on the finish line. So I'm going to give him the win at Martinsville. His odds plus 1,200. Put $10 to win 120. I like it. Great odds. Top 5. I'm going to take both Chase Elliott and Joey Logano. Logano's already locked in, but this is the second to last race of the year. So watch him go fast. He's got to get a good car for Phoenix. Another short track. So he's got to get a short track car going. He's going to race well at Martinsville this weekend. And then I like the Toyotas, Christopher Bell, Martin Truex to finish top 5 as well at plus 550. So that right there is actually my top 5. Chastain, Logano, Chase, Bell, and Truex. Let's see where it goes. Going to college football. Nebraska versus Illinois. It's at Lincoln. It's at Memorial Stadium. I like Nebraska in this matchup. Nebraska needs a win. God bless you. Nebraska needs a win, and they've been playing all right under Mickey Joseph. So I think it's going to be a good one. It's going to be lights out football by both teams. Illinois is favored by 7.5. Give me Nebraska. Give me the Skurs. Syracuse versus Notre Dame. Syracuse favored by 2. Give me Syracuse in a blowout. Boston College, UConn. Boston College favored by 7.5. Absolutely. Go with Boston College. Oklahoma State, Kansas State. Kansas State favored by 1.5. I got to go with Cowboys on this one. Adrian Martinez is out with an injury, and they struggled last week and got their first loss. So go with Cowboys. I'm going with Cowboys on that one. And then A&M versus Ole Miss. This is my long shot game. My big upset of the week here. I got A&M beating Ole Miss, as Ole Miss is favored by 2. So that'll be a good game to watch, I think, in that SEC. All right, going to my last category here. I got NFL. Cardinals versus Vikings. Skull Vikings all the way. Minnesota by 3.5. Absolutely. Las Vegas Raiders and the Saints. You know me, and as a gambling man, go with the Saints. New Orleans by 1.5. And then last but not least, Washington Commanders versus Indianapolis Colts. Sam Ehlinger, starting quarterback. Jonathan Taylor. I like the Colts by 3. And, of course, that is Big Bets. Ben's Bets of the Week. Thank you very much. Come back next week.
You're welcome.
And we'll end it with a little bit with the return of Pump the Brakes or Hit the Gas. First one up, just say your answer. Do not extrapolate at all. So we can get her done in under an hour. Sam Ehlinger will be the best starter in Indy since Andrew Luck. I'm hitting the gas on that one. Here you go.
Hit it.
That's ridiculous. No. Pump the brakes.
Pump the brakes. I'm slamming that pedal to the ground. I'm going 170 on the highway. Let's go.
Ben Simmons is the worst contract in the NBA. I dropped some contenders there for you. I'm going to go ahead and say hit the gas on that one. Ben Simmons sucks.
Hitting the gas.
Wait, can I say one thing with this?
Sure.
During the Bucks game last night, Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant were yelling at him to shoot the ball, and he wouldn't. And they were yelling at him to get out of the lane because this guy was clogging it up. And then Kyrie was joking with him after the game. Well, not joking with him, basically roasting him in the interview. The boy's trash. Hit the gas all the way down.
Yeah, I'm hitting the gas with that one.
Pump the brakes, hit the gas. Alabama will miss the college football playoff with 2 losses this season. I'm hitting the gas.
I'm hitting the gas.
Yeah, I'll hit the gas. I got the gas on that one.
I did not pick very controversial questions this week. We'll round it out with the Packers and Bucks. We'll have top 10 draft picks next year because they're so terrible this year. I'm going to go ahead and hit the gas.
I'll hit the gas, but I think the Packers going to trade away because they're stupid.
I think the
You're going
Packers
to draft Davis Mills with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Pumping the gas on the Packers, not on the Bucks. There's gonna be a late season resurgence with Brady. He does it every year. It's gonna happen. Packers suck. Bucks are way better. Tom Brady's the GOAT. So yeah.
You know, I agree with you, Will. I'm gonna have to pump the brakes on this one. I think there's a lot of season left. These guys, these two groups are gonna get it together for the second half of the season. I'm pumping.
So
the brakes.
We're going to have to change the segment for next week. Pump the brakes, hit the gas, or pump the gas. You got 3 options now.
3 options.
Invented by Mr. Reason himself. That's going to do it for episode 42 of the Save Saturdays podcast. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Michael Petrick, for joining us live on the stream, even though it was actually Sarah Petrick. Thank you for watching. We'll be back hopefully next week with another episode.